speed is either the top of the agenda or is in the top 3. And because of that, Headless is becoming more and more fundamental.
Welcome to Velocitize Talks. I'm Eric Jones. I'm here with Gyles Seward, the founder and managing director of Elementary Digital. Gyles, it's great to have you.
Great to be here. Thank you very much.
You founded the award-winning agency Elementary Digital, and you've concentrated, since your time of founding, in WordPress, in a lot of e-commerce platforms like Magento. Tell us a little bit about what you feel the critical ingredients to your success were.
A lot of hard work, of course. It's been a lot of hours and a lot of sort of building. From the early days, myself and my business partner, Andy, we decided that we wanted to create good things, create good websites, and really profess to be experts and not just be another generalist that would create another website. So that's why we really hung our hat on WordPress, and we decided to be specialists rather than sort of generalists. There are a lot of companies that will build in WordPress, but there are a lot that don't really understand it as a framework. So where our success has been is pretty much from day dot. We positioned ourselves as a WordPress agency, and then we built our team and our expertise around the framework, and have sort of grown and learned with that framework to be able to offer enterprise level clients these days, enterprise level websites. Key to our success has very much been building a great team, and we've had a lot of success in building a great team. We've made a few mistakes, but today we've got nearly 35 people, and the culture is phenomenally good in the business. We encourage people to be themselves. We have different ways of working compared to other agencies, so we're a remote first business. We encourage people to have good work-life balance, but we also really encourage people to grow and evolve and learn more. So the passion for WordPress and us came very much from Andy, who's my business partner. He'd worked in WordPress since 2008, and when he joined up with me, we first of all were a digital agency, but then we decided to really hang our hat on being a WordPress agency. And we have a real passion for WordPress, and I think what people see is when they engage with us is that we not only know about the system, but we pretty much love it as well, and we've always been very passionate about it.
As we mentioned at the top, you do a lot of work in the e-commerce area, and obviously online shopping is something that surged with COVID and the pandemic. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen over the past year or so with the various platforms, which ones are winning, and particularly why.
So when COVID kicked off, in particular in the UK, we didn't really suffer. If anything, our e-commerce clients asked us to do more work because the demand on their sites was greater. And what we found when the demand became greater and they had a greater amount of people visiting the site and using the site is there was a greater need to understand the user journey and work out any hurdles or resolve any issues that people were having in terms of finding, searching, understanding, and then ultimately purchasing products. So a lot of the work we've been doing is around that user journey. So search, we work with quite a few partners like Clevo and Elasticsearch to help people find actual products, but then also the merchandising, the retail aspect of the website. We've done a lot of work around conversion. In terms of trends, though, it's been very interesting because there is one word in e-commerce these days, and it's very much around Shopify. A lot of businesses turn to Shopify because it's an easy option. It's software as a service, so it can be easily set up, and fundamentally it's very easy to manage. They had 71% growth in 2020 year on year, which is phenomenal for any content management system. So, however, Shopify is also limiting. So we have seen off the back of that, companies asking us to build their websites in WooCommerce because it provides more flexibility. And it's Shopify, how do I put this, it's great to a point, but then you start to be limited by what's available off the shelf, or then you have to start paying big prices to an agency to start creating bespoke requirements, and integrations into it as a framework are quite challenging. because it is software as a service, so it's a lockdown system. However, where WooCommerce is much more open, it provides people with a huge amount more flexibility. So we have been developing more enterprise level e-commerce sites using WooCommerce in the last year, and we've done some quite complex websites as well with trade ordering, with personalization, and people wanting us to use WooCommerce sort of beyond what the traditional thoughts of it are. Because we work in Magento as well, it's been a challenging year for Magento, if I'm being honest, but because Shopify, obviously the growth of that has been quite challenging for Magento. But in terms of the markets itself, we saw massive growth in home improvements because in our marketplace in the UK, we have a number of clients that work in home improvements. And to give you one example, one of our clients did as much sales in 4 months as they did in the full previous year, and that's in the millions. So they did, I think, it was about 8 million in 4 months, and that was the entire revenue of the previous year. And they sell actually garden furniture and garden equipment. So that business then subsequently wanted to reinvest and rebuild the site. So we've been through a long process of a roadmap of actually rebuilding that site and improving the user journey.
Tell us a little bit about how Headless is playing in all of this, with people using headless architectures to either build their websites, build their e-commerce sites, and this obviously becomes more and more important as you showcase these digital experiences across all manner of different devices. Because
it's decoupled, it means that effectively you have a system that will control the content and the functions that you want it to do in terms of how you want people to engage with you, but then you can effectively push that to any different type of device or any type of engagement tool that you would use. So to give you an example, we have publishing websites that are headless, and how they work is they use WordPress as the main content management system. They have a headless website, so the benefit of that is phenomenal speed because it removes a huge amount of redundancy out of the coding and things like that. It makes it much simpler. There's many other benefits. So it's faster editing, it's more flexibility, it's easily scalable. But then the other benefit for a headless approach is that they can then use the WordPress framework and the API to push content to an OS, an Apple app or an Android app. And then they can also use it to push it to different social media channels. So we have a client that uses Snapchat. So we push content via Snapchat filters to their Snapchat channel. So headless is the new thing, and more websites are going that way. Fundamentally, there's a Google update that's going to happen in May, which is around website speed. Pretty much every conversation we have with anybody these days is around speed is either the top of the agenda or is in the top 3. And because of that, headless is becoming more and more fundamental.
What order of magnitude improvement to speed are you seeing with headless?
It depends on the complexity of the site, of course, and obviously it depends on delivery. But, you're looking at the metric for speed is typically Google Lighthouse. So a typical website at the moment is having to load loads of resources. So to try and achieve an amber in Google Lighthouse is kind of you want to obviously achieve greens if you can, but trying to get websites to an amber is where you want to be. But with headless, the typical scenario is you're going to hit greens, which is upwards of 90 to 100% speed. And that's what Google wants you to do. That's what Google's saying. It's looking at how the user can interact and the speed of delivery of content.
At a high level, what would you say are the key ingredients to building a highly performant WordPress website?
I suppose the first thing is to step back and look at content first. We brought in a new head of UX and about 6 months ago, and our methodology for building websites has actually changed because of his approach. So it's understanding what the content is to be on your website. That then fundamentally has a say on every aspect of the site in terms of the structure, in terms of imagery, in terms of how the site can be built. If you have that real in-depth understanding of how that content can be resourced effectively on the site, then you can really start to consider how you can improve the speed of the site and how you can make it so it has better user experience.
What's the best piece of professional advice that you've ever been given?
Many years ago, one of my old bosses, when I worked for an agency, said, it's better to listen to people, Gyles, and take on board every aspect of what they're saying and then respond. And so the best piece of professional advice I've ever, and it's bode me very well to this point, is to really intently listen to people, especially clients, take on board what they say and then respond. And
one of the questions we love asking guests is a book or podcast that you'd like to recommend to our viewers.
A podcast at the moment I find really interesting is one called Business Wars by Wondery. And the reason it's interesting is to understand how businesses started, and it's usually about competing businesses against one another, but the level of innovation and thought and the journey that they took. And these businesses are massive. The one I listened to the other day was about DC versus Marvel Comics. And whilst they might not be closely related to my business, it's fascinating to understand how these businesses took risks or took chances, or how they sort of adapted to the marketplace and really listened in and understood their customers. And yeah, the one that's really related to our marketplace is I listened to one about browsers and Netscape. And it's something of my lifetime, and I remember it, but I kind of didn't really know all the ins and outs of it. But it's also very poignant that one day you're a superstar, and next day you're not, you're a zero. And it's really poignant to understand that in the world that we operate in, especially in tech and in terms of development and stuff, you have to be at the cutting edge. You have to keep on evolving. You have to keep on maintaining. And that's not just you as a business, but that's also your team. You have to keep on investing and improving the culture and bringing in expertise and working with clients that want to take risks, but also that you're going to deliver great things for.
That was Gyles Seward, the founder and managing director of Elementary Digital.
Thank you very much. Thank you.